my God, this is insane.
What the
You looking for these? Take them. We get to keep Randall, though.
I cannot believe what's going on here. This is incredible. So many things about this episode completely blew my mind wide open. The first thing we need to talk about here is that all of this, everything we saw in this episode, everything happening here shows us that all of this was a trap. Like Randall in this episode, let's talk about him. Let's talk about this guy. There's so much going on with him that I cannot believe any of what's happening. This is crazy. It's insane, man. The biggest thing to pay attention to is that Randall tells us this was the one night where the monsters did not follow their usual routine. Every other time since he's been watching them, they've been acting the exact same way. But the one night where the ambulance comes in bringing Tabitha back to the town, this is the one night they just coincidentally decided not to follow their usual routines. It's like... The writers are showing us very, very clearly that whoever it is that's responsible for bringing people back to the town or into the town is the same being who's controlling the monsters. And this being clearly told the monsters the ambulance was coming to bring Tabitha back to the town. This is how they knew to set up a trap. It's obvious that the monster laying down in the street was supposed to make the ambulance stop. That was obviously meant to be the plan.
We are in real danger right now. There are things in this town that will hurt us. Oh my God.
Something that I noticed that's absolutely huge is the monsters had more than enough time to go into the ambulance and kill Tabitha and Victor's dad, but they did not do it, and it's obviously because they were ordered not to by their boss. Tabitha's entire journey in the outside world was because she was meant to bring something back to the town. So by the time they dragged her back into Fromville, she had already gotten whatever it was that she was sent outside to retrieve. But the fact that the monsters were clearly waiting for the ambulance means whoever their boss actually is knew Tabitha was coming back and told them in advance. And the fact that they ignored Tabitha and Victor's dad instead of killing them when they had more than enough time to do it means both of them are a part of whatever this entity's plan actually is, which means Tabitha going outside was part of this being's plan. It's a part of the plan that was made by whoever it is that's controlling the monsters. It's obviously not a coincidence that Randall just happens to have a vision of the cicadas at the exact moment Boyd was making a deal with the devil. Like, there's so much going on here that makes it clear there's a severe level of manipulation that nobody in the town is aware of. And this brings me to the telephone because this right here, oh man.
Who is this?
Mom's in trouble. She's in an ambulance. You have to help her.
This right here, this thing for me is the golden goose. Everything has been a manipulation for so much longer than any of us realize. The big thing here is the dead baby tells Ethan that Tabitha is in the ambulance. And remember, this is the only reason Jim went to the ambulance to begin with. And the reason they wanted him to be at the ambulance is to make it so much easier for Boyd to make the choice that he ended up making. And what we know for a fact, because of what happened earlier in this season, is that this place, the entity controlling it, whatever you want to say, actively wants and is trying to break Boyd. And that puts this scene into a new perspective. And what I think is actually going on here with the Boyd and the entity is, for the first time in a long time, the entity is actually enjoying itself, because Boyd's resolve and mind is the hardest it's ever come across.
You leave my children alone.
But they're not your children anymore.
The entity on the phone tells Jim Matthews that his kids don't belong to him anymore. And this is the smoking gun. This is how we know for a fact that the entity on the phone is undoubtedly evil. It keeps going after Jim using his family. We've already seen this voice threatening his kids in the other episode, and in this scene, it's threatening Tabitha once again because it knows Jim's weakness is his family. It's the same reason why it specifically chooses Father Cartry and Abby to manipulate Boyd. It constantly wants to bring up their biggest traumas so that they'll never be able to move on from the things that caused it. That's why it pretends to be the dead baby while talking to Jim Matthews.
Why is it just one thing after another after another? Why can't they leave us alone?
I don't know.
I am so fucking scared.
The overarching theme of this season is that the entity wants the people to lose all hope. It wants them being at their lowest because it's gearing up for another massacre, just like what happened in Victor's backstory. That's why it's so narratively important for Victor to remember what actually led up to the massacre. Victor's memories were wiped to prevent him from spreading information, and the entity is probably using him as a mole or something like that, but Victor himself doesn't even know that he's being manipulated because of them blocking his memories. The point of bringing Tabitha back to the town, butchering Tian Chen, and impregnating Fatima with a demon is to foster this sense of existential dread into the population of the town. Basically, it wants them to feel like they can't escape, like they can't win, and like there's no way out of this wretched place. The entity feeds on despair and pain. That's why the monsters torture people before killing them, and that's why the people in the dungeon were being tortured as well. So everything the monsters and this entity have been doing in this season is about creating that fear and distress in the people of the town. The talismans cannot be broken. It's against the rules. So the entity impregnated Fatima through her dreams because it needed a way to get through the talismans. It's creating a new type of monster that isn't vulnerable to the talismans, and we saw it doing something similar with the music box before. My greater assumption right now is that it wants to use the baby as a vessel, but everything we've been seeing in this season shows that the entity is running multiple different traps at the same time. Right now, we are just seeing the tip of the iceberg because there is so much more manipulation than any of us can possibly comprehend. All of what we've been seeing has in fact been a trap, and everything going on with the monsters ambushing the ambulance, the voice on the phone causing Jim to go outside and telling him that it owns his children just like it owns everyone else, which it actually proved by bringing Tabitha back to the town. All of this, everything that's happening is clearly showing us the level of manipulation going on here is beyond anything we can possibly imagine.